Greetings, this is another Sprocket video, and actually let's hop on to scrap mechanic first. And that is for a very specific reason, which is the HGS MBT6, or as it is now called, the HGS 108-6. So this is obviously a main battle tank, and it is probably my most recognizable vehicle, I would say. Like, at least to me, it's extremely iconic, and it is the HGS tank. Yes, the HGS tank. And, it's been 5 years since I've made this, and I tried to recreate it in Sprocket a couple times. Actually, the latest one being 2 years old, and alright, it's not bad. I can't say it's bad, but it's not up to my current standards. So, yeah. Anyway, during the last couple of days, I've been posting on my YouTube community section thing, and yes, I have made the pangolin in Sprocket 2, except I actually haven't. The HGS 108-6 is not our subject for today, actually. It is the AA platform built on it, which is just as old as the regular MBT version, and as you can see, this thing is a slight bit odd. Well, you can tell that I tried to make 2 Gatling guns on this platform, and I mean, it kinda works, kinda doesn't. It's an ancient bit of technology. It's funny that the devs barely release any updates, but throughout the few updates they end up releasing, they mess quite literally everything up about the systems I use for my tanks, so basically none are usable at this point, unless we are talking about cardboard tanks with spud guns exclusively. So yes, this is today's subject, so now let's take a look at it in Sprocket. But first, again, we need to take a look at something else to get a bit more context to what I'm talking about. So obviously, as I have posted about it in the past few days, this is the HGS 108-6 pangolin, at least a good 60% of it. So yes, this is a completely finished hull. And the reason I'm showing this is because, of course, I had to use this hull for the HGS Stampede, which is the anti-aircraft variant built on it. But, of course, an anti-aircraft vehicle doesn't need any armor, really. And this thing has a disgusting amount of armor. Look at this gigantic chunk up front. Even the entirety of the sides are made of composites, so overall this has a pretty damn good protection even from the sides, relatively speaking. Now, here's the rough part of the development process, because this is like the 7th or 8th attempt I'm making this project, or I should say remaking this project, because at first, throughout my first few attempts, I just couldn't get the front right, neither the sides really, and then when I got them right, I actually had to take a step back because, of course, the composite was an actual part of the hull itself, and then I abandoned this project for the manyth time, for around 2 months, I think. And throughout that, I had a long time to think about how I approach this, and that's why the composite armor chunks are actually completely removable. So along the way, I realized that, I only have one modern AA, and I should remake it, but first I need the hull it is based on, so That's why I actually made the pangolin hull. I didn't actually want the pangolin to be made, I wanted the AA version of it. But you know, now that it's here, I'm going to finish it. Why the hell not? But you know, I had a long time to think about how I approach things, and that's why the pangolin hull turned out the way it did. That's just the way I concluded it should be. So all the armor is removable, even this, which has some internal parts, and basically we now almost already have the hull of the Stampede. So now that I have talked about the design process a bit, let's now take a look at the actual vehicle you probably clicked for, which would be this monstrosity. So as you can see, compared to the stripped down version of the pangolin hull, I also removed the plow and redesigned the sides to be more rubbery than metal. And the elephant in the room, the gigantic unmanned turret on top of it. So, the base protection of this is actually not bad for something that's not supposed to be fired at. The front is 50 millimeters altogether, roughly, plus whatever angling I managed to get. The sides are roughly 25 to 40-ish, roughly, and the rear is mostly just vents, so practically no armor, but technically it has 35 here and whatever here. So yes, it does have a decent protection for something that's, again, not supposed to be fired at. And another thing it's not supposed to be is a radar vehicle. I know it has a search radar, and actually I did manage to give it a funny gimmick. It can actually be pulled up the way it's supposed to be if we want to be realistic, so the hydraulics in theory can pull this up. Well, I mean, I can do it in the editor, but of course I cannot do this while in action, so yeah, you have to choose what position you want this to be in when you spawn. And also the radar itself can be rotated like it's supposed to be. So what was I saying? Yes, so technically this thing is not supposed to use its own radar because you know, there are dedicated radar vehicles with much better capabilities, so it would rather use them, and that's why the search radar is not as strong as the tracking radar, which has a Sprocket chan on it, inviting you to your death if you are in a helicopter or any aircraft, really. So the tracking radar is extremely powerful. According to its crews, canonically, it can even track the orbit of Pluto. So yes, stealth aircraft. Well, not anymore. I can see you from 10 kilometers away. Have fun being disintegrated. So yes, the main selling point is, however, the elephant in the room. Both of them, the 30mm Gatling guns, which, as you would probably guess, because I'm the one who made them, are actually modeled. So yes, well, actually, I did try to make the insides too, and I got to a certain point. Like, you can see that I did indeed try. I just need to disassemble it a little bit. Give me a sec. So as you can see, there are some things on the insides, but halfway through I gave up because honestly I had no idea what I was doing. So yes, the Gatling guns have a skeleton over inside, or however much work I ended up doing on them. So yeah, it's not much. It's not. Fuck. It is not much, but it's honest work, or at least an honest attempt at an honest work. Anyway, the Gunner's optical sight is up here, off center, because I mean, where would I put it? So yes, this is where it's placed, because where else would I put it? There's also communication electronics here with two new antennas I modeled just for this thing, but I will of course reuse them for the future tanks of mine. And also the tracking radar can be moved a little bit, and that's why you see an electric motor here. You know, it's quite fat. It needs all the torque it can generate to lift this heavy thing. So yes, and since it is based on the hull of the pangolin, it also has hydraulic suspension, which is quite interesting to think about. As you can see, it can tilt itself. And, you know, I always make my tanks multi-purpose. It is first and foremost an anti-aircraft vehicle, or an anti-helicopter vehicle, more likely. But it's also a psychological terror weapon, because, I mean, yeah, 2 Gatling guns for the price of one really expensive vehicle is just pure torture to think about in terms of whether or not I want to come up against this thing. And you know, it's not supposed to be on the front line, but it is fast. Its top speed is 70 kilometers per hour, so it can drive really fast. And it has negative 13.5 degrees of gun depression altogether, 9 just on the turret, and as I said earlier, and as you can see right here, the hydraulic suspension does give a bit of assistance to said gun depression angle. And the penetration is not much really, it's 47, but it's an anti-aircraft vehicle. It's not supposed to have a lot of penetration, but theoretically speaking, it can melt through the armor of a main battle tank eventually, because, you know, you fire a shell at the armor plate, it removes some material while the shell disintegrates. You fire another one, and eventually after, I don't know, 10,000 shots, you remove enough material to actually go through the armor, but by then the crew will die of old age, but they would be dead, so I mean, it's a win, I would say. So yes, this is not really an anti-tank weapon, obviously, and I'm going to disable the hull tilt for now, because it's driving me kind of insane. So where was I? So this thing is not really an anti-tank weapon, but it is a phenomenal anti-infantry weapon, or just a psychological warfare unit in general. Yeah, I think that's it really. There's not much to show, maybe other than the fact that the sides have a lot of storage space and a lot of fuel underneath, which in theory would destroy everything stored up here, but I mean, whatever, like, not my problem, it's the Jacob's problem. You also have an auxiliary power unit, which is also present on the regular, I almost said tardigrade, which is also present on the regular pangolin main battle tank, which also carries over to the Stampede, which needs it quite a bit more, I think, because of the unmanned turret and the ballistic computer inside it. You can also see the engine deck is basically completely asymmetrical, and you have a little field telephone here, so the infantry outside can communicate with the 3 Jacobs up front. And yeah, also I probably need to mention this. The gun barrels actually can be rotated inside the editor, not while being spawned, however, of course. And you might be asking, Günther, how does one actually repair this on the field, because it looks super expensive? Well, the answer to that is, if something in the turret breaks, it's over. You have to put it on some sort of a truck and move it to a factory or repair facility or something like that, because you are not repairing anything on this turret or underneath too, because technically, anyway, doesn't matter. So, but on the whole, you can do even medium-sized repairs. Of course, you will probably not replace the engine and transmission on the field, but you know, maintenance on the whole is relatively easy, I would say. On the turret, you have an access hatch here, which you can lift with a crane, and that's about it. And as I said, if a major repair needs to be done on the turret, you just have to remove it from the front line. So yes, I believe that's it. Altogether, this thing took me somewhere around 40 to 45 hours to make, including the hull itself. So, yeah, this thing is actually quite insane, and to be fair, I did struggle with it a lot, because I've done a lot of things for the first time with this one. Of course, I never made Gatling guns before, I never made barrel shrouds before, and this is what I needed some advice with, because I just didn't get this right for the first few times. So yes, first time making a Gatling gun, first time making a barrel shroud, first time making radars of any sort, and first time making any modern AA in general in Sprocket, because most of my AA designs are interwar or World War II, nothing in Cold War, and just this for the modern era, so yeah. So yes, thanks for paying attention, see you next time, whenever that might be.